All right, everybody, we are here to cover the other half of the NFL. The AFC preview is dropping for you guys right now. We're going to get into the NFC and cover all four of those divisions, bets that we love going into the season. And Rob was blowing our mind in pre-production, so we're just going to kick it right to him with the NFC West. So just take it away, kid.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up where we left off last year. I love the Niners going into this year. I love the quarterback change with Trey Lance. I mean, we can get into him versus Jimmy G, but I like the Niners. I just really like what they're putting together as a team. I like what we saw at the end of last year. I think Trey Lance presents like an interesting component to the team this year. I think there's a little bit. I mean, I would argue that the ceiling may be a little bit higher. I mean, I know we haven't seen much of Trey Lance. I know there's not a whole lot out there on him, but I'm always like, we know what we have in Jimmy Garoppolo. We've seen that all the way up to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. He has certain limitations, but at the same time, he's still a strong quarterback. I'm actually a little surprised they haven't been able to move him yet for anything really. But I like Trey Lance, and I like him to take the next step as the starter. Little small preview again. I've been dropping little fantasy hints as we go along with these previews. I love Trey Lance as a fantasy quarterback, a late round guy with a high ceiling. That's exactly who I'm targeting. I think he's got a great surrounding cast around him. I'm all in on Deebo Samuel. I think things are shored up with the relationship with the Niners, so that he's ready to go back at it again this year. Couple him with Brandon Ayuk. Elijah Mitchell as a back. I think they have some really good weapons. And, last but not least, of course, George Kittle's still there too. So I'm buying in on the Niners early on. I like them to win the division. They're down to 150, plus 150 right now at DraftKings. So I like locking in the Niners to win that division over the Rams and the rest of the crew in the West.
I'm with you on the Niners. I think the Rams just off the jump are going to have a Super Bowl hangover. Without a doubt in my mind. Do they play the Bills opening night?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's just a tough draw when your banner's getting hung up and then you have a team that lost a game twice in 2 minutes to the Chiefs. That's a tough draw against some hungry dogs over there.
Forget week one. I mean, we don't really know what the status is of Matt Stafford, right? So, I mean, it looks like he's going to be okay to go. I haven't heard anything lately about him missing any time, but if that elbow is a concern and if it's something that could hamper him, all the more reason to fade the Rams in this division.
Oh boy. Yeah, no, I'm on board with you on the Niners. I think the biggest thing with the Niners is you're taking the handcuffs off of Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
By putting Trey Lance on the field. I think he just has so much more potential. Like you said, you already know what you're getting with Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance, I was going to say more athletic, but I feel like that's just kind of disrespectful to Trey Lance to call him a little more athletic than Jimmy Garoppolo. You know what I mean?
Point, I'm just imagining the creativity that Shanahan can bring to the table with Lance at quarterback position, because you've already seen the creativity in the way they work in Juszczyk at the fullback position. Deebo Samuel coming in the play, slotting in the play halfback and moving him around. So to then be able to continue with Shanahan's office and progress it maybe with a mobile quarterback in Lance, somebody that can open things a little bit up more than a Jimmy Garoppolo. Again, understanding Trey Lance has a progression to go through, which would be his, really this first year starting. But I just think the sky could be the limit with the offense with him back there. And I think it just gives Shanahan, to your point, a little bit more room to get creative, particularly, now with that quarterback position. So I like it. And not to mention that the defense is solid. I mean, we saw what they did last year up in Lambeau.
Even if pat yourself on the back, you had to bring.
I told you, I told you, I'm coming in how we ended last year. I mean, it was the only thing we had. The only thing we had going for us in the playoffs was the Niners.
I like that, Rob. Talk your shit.
Yeah. Right. So we'll come right back. I'm coming right back with what worked in the playoffs for us. So I'm all in on the Niners. I like them a lot this year.
All right.
And we're all out on the Cardinals.
Not in the next couple months. Give it a couple months, Sean. You got we
right. They start hot, even without D-Hop though.
Yeah.
Hold on, boys. I kept their schedule up just because I knew we were going to get into this quickly. They are going to get steamrolled coming out of the gate. Really? My only official play for them is under 8.5 wins. on the season.
Wow. Okay.
For that division, under 8.5. So let me tell you, they start off Chiefs, Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Birds, Seahawks. 2 gimmies, but one of them's a division game, and like who knows? And then you go Saints, Vikings, Seahawks, Rams, Niners. There's no way Chargers. There's no way they're getting 8.5. They are going to have a very tough go at it. And in the words of the great Jamal Williams, Kyler Murray's a puppy, and you got to keep him on the porch. There's a lot of the wrong type of barking coming out of his camp this offseason for somebody that has done nothing. It's cute you won some regular season games. That playoff game was over in the first 2 minutes, and you limped into it.
And then you demand $200 million in the offseason.
And you're taking like stipulations out of your contract, bro. Who are you?
Yeah, fuck Kyler Murray.
If I was the Cardinals, I'd have called the Oakland A's. And like, you guys want him again? I don't want him. I'm definitely not paying him $250 million.
Wow. TYP is down on Kyler Murray going in.
I hate him.
We've been down on Kyler
Murray
long before inception at TYP.
It doesn't
throw a 15-yard out.
It doesn't help that we reversed it last year, fading the Cardinals early on and then backing them late in the season. I think that messed with our juices a little bit. But listen, I'm not going to argue against you guys. Like there's nothing particularly appealing to me when it comes to the Cardinals, especially when they're, the most talented player on offense is out for the first 6 games, and DeAndre Hopkins dealing with his suspension. I'm not sure how quickly. Very something I've gotten yelled at before.
Very unprofessional. I'm sorry.
So,
that's on me.
I don't know how quickly Marquise Brown adjusts in Arizona, how the connection with him and Murray is. So that's a bit of an unknown. I would expect they're going to hope that it starts hitting quick, right, with the absence of Hopkins. But otherwise, AJ Green, Zach Ertz, guys that are, that's past, seen their better days. I'm not sure if there's enough to really get excited about the Cardinals this year.
Is Marquise Brown better than Kirk?
For sure.
I would think so as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
I do think that him and D-Hop together will be a nice combination. Like I'm not a hater. I will call it how I see it. Like when those two are back, the Cardinals I think will catch stride. My fears with their schedule, it might be too little too late. Because they're like 50-50 games are very tough football games. And judging by it, they're going to need to win almost all of them. Like their layup games, I've literally only seen 3 on their schedule.
You're staring at 1-4 in the first 5 games, right? You got Kansas City, Vegas, Los Angeles, Carolina, Philly. I mean, if they go 2 and 3, you'd be thrilled with that, right? Like
2 and 3 is a good record out of the gate for them. Yeah. And then even so, I at under 8.5, I still like our position because then you get into the beef of the season. So,
yeah, I mean, I think they're still going to score a ton of points. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think they're going to be like a bad football team. I think when it matters, they're going to lose. Whether that's they need to win and get in, or in the first round of the playoffs, I don't see them as a real threat to anything in the NFC. But I mean, I think they're going to score 28 plus a game. I mean, they have weapons. And they scored a bunch last year. And their defense is still decent. I mean, they lost Chandler Jones, which is tough, and Hassan Reddick, which is not great. But, I mean, they still got some playmakers.
Is the 8.5 too close for you, Sean, or do you lean either one way or another on that?
Yeah, I mean, Mike reading me that schedule, I feel like that's about as tough as the NFC schedule as you can have. I mean, there's not that many good teams in the NFC, and I feel like they play all of them.
Yeah. And they got stuck with the AFC West, right?
I wouldn't want to take the over. I wouldn't personally take the under, but I would not want to bet the over either. I do feel like it's a solid number.
It'll be 9 or 8 is where they finish, I would say. But interesting, their odds to miss the playoffs are minus 155, which I found that interesting. When you're looking at under, over 8.5, typically 9 wins in the NFC gets you in. So I don't know if that talks about we're going to see like a shakeup in the NFC, type of thing. Or I that kind of threw me off where I saw like that 8.5. I feel like is like steady Eddie for the NFL. where it's like you're flirting with 500 or like a decent season, squeak into a wild card. But seeing them miss the playoffs to me is like, are we expecting better records out of the NFC because it is a little more top heavy?
Yeah, I would think so. There's a lot of teams you can beat up on in the NFC. I mean, you can beat up on the Bears, not the Lions, but I mean the Redskins, or the Commanders, whatever the hell their name is, the Giants. I mean, there's a bunch of teams you can beat, the Panthers, whoever.
I think there's less teams than we think that are going to be like a stepping stone this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be too quick to say that about Washington or New York. I mean, we'll get into the division, but I think they both take a step up. And I think Carolina's a little sneaky. Don't get me wrong. Like you'll have your bottom feeders. Looking at Atlanta, looking at Seattle. I think you found your two bottom feeders there. I think Chicago and Detroit are going to be a little bit better compared to last year. That cast in Detroit is tough.
I'm all in on Detroit.
Yeah, well, yeah, they've been. Yeah, and of course, yeah, they're the darling on everybody's TV the last couple of weeks too. So I agree, Mike. I don't think there's as many like walkovers as there may have been in years past in the NFC. Maybe a couple here and there, but it's pretty wide open.
I think it's going to be competitive, and I think that wild card race is going to be very interesting come the last 3 weeks in the NFC. But let's transition because I'm. When you were talking to us earlier, Rob, I thought you were kind of nuts, but like I'm ready to blow you guys' minds with what I think is going to happen in the NFC North. And you guys are going to call me crazy. You've been calling me crazy forever, and I don't even care. Vikings division winner. Plus 265. Give me that outright. I
don't think that's that
crazy. No, I have it written down. I'll show you. I that's my favorite division play, I think.
All right, I was just trying to butter you guys up. The Packers to miss the playoffs plus 360.
Oh,
I think that might be crazy.
It's a little crazy. I'm still trying to teeter with like if I'm actually going to put money on that.
It's all about the receivers for me. I mean, their offensive line is good. Their backfield is good. Their defense is. I mean, they took 2 first-round picks for their defense, which was good last year, and only gave up 10 points or whatever in the playoffs. It's all about the young receivers and bringing them in and how they like. That's I have to see it to judge them.
I can't go as far as to say that they're going to miss the playoffs, but I do like the under 11 wins at minus 110 on DK right now. I saw 11.5 with a little bit of juice, but the last I checked before we came on at DK was an even 11 at minus 110. I do like the under there.
I kind of like that too.
Especially and it's interesting because when we talk about the Vikings total is at 10. So you got them at 10, the Packers at 11. That's just it's 2 very high totals in that division. And
so they're saying both those teams are getting 4 free wins out of their division. Is what they're saying. Have to be saying that.
It'd be you're right. I mean, they would at least.
So whoever the Lions
for those, if they're both getting 10 and 11 wins respectively,
you're getting 4 free ones.
Lions aren't getting swept by both those teams.
I
agree.
Did
last year.
So whoever I know, motherfucker, I don't want to talk about that. But Sean, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, I'm taking the Lions, and I'm like, I'm switching to the Vikings money line. Unbelievable. So I think whoever the Lions beat out of those 2 teams loses that division. And my gut tells me it would be Minnesota because new coach, Aaron Rodgers, regular season, most talented quarterback ever when it's the regular season. And then Rob throws money on the Niners, and then it's like guy forgets how to throw a football in the cold all of a sudden. I don't know. I feel in my gut the Vikings with that talent on offense, new regime, they have a lot of experience, a lot of vets, but still with like some young studs there. And to me, like, I'm not even mad at you throwing a sprinkle on Justin Jefferson to be Offensive Player of the Year.
No, that's not a bad play at all.
He's one of the most talented players in the NFL at any position. I mean, and there's
quick gut check for both of you guys. I love this one. So we're going to put GM hats on for a second. Mike, Sean, give me both your tastes. Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson? Go.
Different.
Justin Jefferson.
There you go. Sean,
I agree with you.
That's tough, though. I don't like that. Don't do that again.
The thing, yeah, at least warn me
it.
before that we're going to do that type of shit. So the thing that's different with those two, Justin Jefferson can really break the top off you and run a great route. I feel like Jamar Chase, you could throw him a bubble screen and he could take it to the crib. And like we've seen him do
last year in playoffs,
multiple times and make 3 dudes miss and it's to the crib. So,
I agree with that. I think Jamar Chase is better with the ball in his hands, but I think Justin Jefferson is a better receiver.
I like that. I'm going to stand on that.
They're both. I'll take either of them. So I mean,
hell yeah,
I love them.
I'm not mad at either one on the roster
for sure.
I also like Cook to have a bounce back year this year for the Vikings. I think he has a strong year. I don't think he's in the upper echelon anymore, but I think he's right there at that like second tier running back. You know, definitely still consider a workhorse back. So I like the stability he brings to the run game. You know, paired with, you know, I know some pretty polarizing quarterback with Cousins, but I mean, again, you want to talk about another regular season hero. I mean, he's got the numbers to back that up too. You know, say what you want about the guy. So, you know, I think the offense is pretty solid. I think they'll the defense. You know, I don't think there's been a whole lot of change there, and it's usually pretty solid. So, I agree, Mike. I'm in on the Vikings love too.
Yeah, I think actually the winner week 2 Eagles Vikings Monday night that's going to say a lot about their season. The loser is going to have an uphill fight. And the winner is going to be more so in the driver's seat. And that's just my opinion. Like, obviously, it's early. We know how the NFL seasons work. But, like, that's a very big game early.
That's a strong matchup, yeah.
For two teams that are, like, kind of, I guess, by, like, national media viewed as a little brother, I understand why the Vikings would be. I don't – clearly I'm biased, but I don't know why the Eagles would be viewed that way about the Cowboys, but they still are every year. Preseason, there's Cowboys hype and there's not Eagles hype. But this year, I don't know. It's actually making me nervous. But whoever wins that game, I would really – I think that shores you up a wild card spot as long as you handle business, granted, the rest of the season. But, like, you're beating a team that you're going to be fighting for in the wild card situation head-to-head. So –
What do you think about? What do you guys both think about this Detroit Lions team that's been on Hard Knocks the last couple of weeks? They've been getting a lot of love, a lot of characters there, starting with the head coach with Campbell.
I love the coaching staff, man. I love that it's just all dogs, former players. Like, I love the way they're talking. Like, they know they stink, and they're just trying to go out and earn it. I think they're going to be a little better. I mean, there's talent on that football team. There really is, especially
sidebar. To your point, Sean. Deuce Staley is the fucking man.
Yeah.
Like, how that man does not have a head coaching job yet is beyond me. I'm watching the last couple of weeks of him on the sidelines on the field, and I'm just like, I'm praying that, like, I'm just like dreaming of the scenario where Howie Roseman's like, hey, listen, like, it's not right now, but you know, one day you'll be the head coach of the Eagles, right? But like, I really like Deuce Staley, and it's hard not to root for the Lions. Honestly, just for that reason alone.
Yeah, I mean, they have a good O-line. On paper, good receivers. They're young, but I think there's a lot of potential there. Decent running back core. I like DeAndre Swift a lot. Hutchinson's probably going to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Granted, everything looks good on Hard Knocks.
For sure.
Yeah. So, like, but I mean, realistically, like looking at his college career, if you were doing that in the Big Ten or the SEC, it typically pans out 9 out of 10 times. Like, you look around the NFL, it's like Premier Big Ten, Premier SEC, and those edge rushers 9 out of 10 times pan out. So he's going to be good. I mean, that culture is just like big dog energy.
I love it. And they weren't bad last year. They weren't the Jaguars last year. Like, they battled.
Yeah.
I just think they're hungry, man. I don't see them as just like a shitty team that we're just going to walk in there and like beat the shit out of them and go home. Like, they're going to show up this year.
Their only bad game was against the Eagles.
Yeah. I think there might have been one more, but yeah, there wasn't a ton for a team that won 3 wins or something.
I mean, Justin Tucker kicks like a 75-yard field goal to beat them. And it was just like always down to the final minute with them. And that's with Jared Goff as your quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like that team. I think every week you give me more than a touchdown against the Lions, I'll probably take the Lions.
Oh, yeah.
But this year, we talk about this, that rah-rah stuff needs to start to turn into wins. So, and like this year, like they need to start to see at least like a change in the tides where it's like, all right, instead of just scrapping every game, like we need to start winning a few.
That
and then you
stuff
start
can get
winning a
old
bunch.
real quick. Yeah, that rah-rah stuff gets old real quick if it doesn't make a difference.
But Dan Campbell's not a punk, and he's not faking it. Like, they can see that he's not a fraud. You know what I mean? Like, what was the dude in
Joe
New
Judge?
York? Yeah, Joe Judge. Like, that's like,
I agree, 1,000%.
get out
That's
of
really
here.
who Dan Campbell is. I think he's really just a fucking meathead.
Yeah, he's
just one of the guys.
How tall is he? He looks like he's 6'5".
Yeah.
Dude, he's a
big
giant. And his it sounded weird. I was gonna say his traps. It's like that dude still power cleans like 450. For real, the dude is an animal. All right, and okay. Do we have to talk about the Bears?
No, I don't have any feelings this week.
How do your feelings? I have nothing good to say. I'm glad they got rid of Nagy, so it's a step in the right direction.
It might get harder before it gets easier for Chicago.
For sure.
I think it is a step in the right direction. But I think the one saving grace is that you have to be excited to see what Justin Fields has at a full season under the helm of quarterback. I like Darnell Mooney. I think he's one of the more underrated receivers in the league. He's going to have to play a big role for Fields when there's really, there's not a whole lot of options left there. They picked up Pringle from Kansas City. They got a couple other guys in there too. N'Keal Harry's there.
Yeah, I mean, how are we supposed to judge this kid?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, like what? Like I don't know. That team stinks to me.
You're going to judge them based off this cast, right? And there's not
right.
a whole lot.
It's not fair to him at all.
There's decent pieces. I think Mooney's a decent piece. I think Komet's a decent piece at tight end, but you don't have anybody. I don't know if you have a surefire security blanket for him or somebody anything close to a game breaker that could really be used as a weapon on this offense. So I think he is going to struggle a bit. But we'll see how it takes shape. I just don't think there's a whole lot here to work with on the Chicago offense.
I also don't love sorry, Mike, but real quick, I don't love the head coaching hire. I mean, we have a young quarterback that we're trying to invest in, and we go get a defensive coach. Like, I don't like that.
That's just a stuck in the past ideology where it's like, we're the Bears. Whatever. I don't understand it. And your defense, it was good at the double doink, but you let all those guys go.
Right.
So now build on what you have. You invested in Justin Fields, who I think is talented. I like we're saying, we're basing that off of Matt Nagy's offense with no one around him. I think you need to get the RPO in the mix with David Montgomery. It's like the only way just to like get a little bit of pressure off of him, because David Montgomery is a solid back
for sure.
Like I do like him. There's a lot of hype around that Mooney kid, and I just. I haven't seen it. I think he could be good, but like
because he's been on the Bears.
No, I know. I get that. Ooh, somebody we forgot. Allen Robinson going to the Rams. And we're just gonna touch on this and then get off of it. Allen Robinson going to the Rams finally has a quarterback that can get the ball out. Could be dangerous for his career. I'm not saying he's like a top 20 wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he could get revitalized or not. I mean, we haven't heard from him in a year plus because he's just been sitting with some shitty quarterback with no offensive line. I'm curious to see if he lost it or if he just wasn't getting put in good positions.
Chicago Bears wide receiver is a tough job in the NFL.
Absolutely.
It is a tough job.
Tough job.
It is a tough job. All right. Well, I think we covered the North.
Free Roquan Smith, too. For sure. Trade him. Stop holding on to him.
Are they trying to get rid of him?
They won't pay him.
Yeah.
They won't pay him.
No.
Why?
They're trying to give him like some shitty deal that's like all backloaded with like low guarantees or something.
Yeah.
If you're gonna backload it, it's got to be guaranteed.
Are they?
Get him out of there. You're not good enough for a middle linebacker anyway. Like, you need way more than fucking Roquan Smith.
That was it. I was just gonna say the same thing. They're in no position anyway to have to commit that kind of money to a middle linebacker at this point where their franchise is to begin with. Like I get it. Like we talked about this with the AFC cast, right? They got Fields. He's on a rookie deal. Like now's the time to really start making some moves, right? Like you've had like. There wasn't a whole lot done over this past offseason, but like you got to capitalize when you're utilizing your rookie quarterback deal, right? So I think part of that might be parting ways with Roquan or seeing maybe if you can get anything back for him to try to start beefing this team up around Fields, because they got a lot of work to do.
It'll be too little too late when it's all said and done. Dude, they're stuck in the mud. Because what does he have, 2-3 years left on his rookie deal by the time they're going to have to pay him? Granted, based on what they're going to do for the kid, they're not going to have to pay him that much, and it might not be anything to do with him and his ability. It'll just be all statistical, and he's going to get sandbagged.
You take out Roquan Smith, you take him off this defense. This defense is in bad shape. Like it doesn't look great.
Yeah, losing Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith. I mean, they're just dropping dudes.
Actually, I'm going to correct myself earlier. I'm going to throw the Bears into the bottom feeder mix.
I think there's more bottom feeders than we're talking about.
Yeah, we'll put them in there with Atlanta until they show us something otherwise. But I'm putting them in there.
All right, let's move to the South. Let's go down south where it's warmer. It's just like we just spent a lot of time talking about bad football teams. Granted, there's two terrible ones in the South, but there's two good ones. There's two good ones. I'm really interested to see how that coaching change shakes up New Orleans, but that team is so loaded on paper. I feel like I just have to take them. I see them at plus 310 on DraftKings right now.
In the division.
That's tempting to win that division. And granted, you're putting a lot of faith in a new head coach in Jameis Winston against Tom Brady. But we already know how that shakes out in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, they started, 3-0, 4-0 or something last year with Jameis before he got hurt. I mean, and they added Chris Olave. You're adding Michael Thomas back. You're adding Honey Badger. I mean, that roster is looking good. It's really a Jameis and the head coach, Dennis Allen, question for me.
And Jarvis Landry. And it looks like Kamara is not going to get suspended until next year, probably.
Yeah, yep.
So there's some serious weapons.
A lot of talent.
I mean, they're going to be a problem. It's just a matter of composure late in the season. When it really matters, when they have to play the Bucs late in the season. Betting against Tom is tough.
For sure. But they also, I mean, they've been playing the Bucs well for the last 2 or 3 years or however long Tom has been there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, at that number, it's really hard to take a pass on that, where it's like talent-wise, I don't see that much of a drop-off team to team. And looking at plus 310, to me, that number is too good to pass up Saints versus the Bucs.
It comes down to solid quarterback play, right? If you can get consistent, stable play out of Winston, this team could make a move, because we saw it last year. The defense was really solid. And they actually made an upgrade, bringing Honey Badger and Matthew in. So you add another playmaker on that defense. You have playmakers on offense. You've added Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is back. You got Jarvis Landry, Kamara. You got plenty of toys for Winston to play with. It's just a matter of protecting the football and making plays. And if he could, like I said, he doesn't have to play exceptional. If it's solid, they're right there in the mix for a wild card. Absolutely.
Yeah, just don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like about that defense, too, is you have two heart and soul guys now in Cam Jordan and the Honey Badger.
Yeah, it's a solid defense.
They're going to let freedom reign on a couple teams down there.
Don't sleep on Troutman either. Pretty solid tight end, too. Could be a pretty solid target for Winston, especially if you're talking like mid-tier, like tight ends in fantasy. Like I think they got lots of options at offense. It's just protect the football. And
there's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of talent on that offense.
Yeah.
How do we think about what do we think about the Michael Thomas return? I'm a little nervous about him. Is he going to come back to being like a top 5 wide receiver? Or is he pulling like AB Le'Veon level shit where it's like you didn't work out working on your mixtape, now you're like trying to pursue a rap career? I'm nervous about him because I didn't take him as that kind of guy at all, and then he sits out because he, I guess, really did hate Sean Payton that much.
Yeah, I don't know. And then waited to get the surgery when he was supposed to come back before last year. I don't know. I think that's just we have to wait and see. I mean, that's a huge. When you take a year or 2 years off, you usually don't come back the same person. Mm-hmm. I would have a hard time believing he's going to come back and be a top 5 receiver. Yeah,
I feel like there is a lot of pressure off his shoulders though with Jarvis and Olave, like in that core, because I'm trying to think, has he played with anybody else to that caliber?
Emmanuel Sanders?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think who else they've had. They haven't had great receivers.
Not any great ones with him. Emmanuel Sanders is very solid wide receiver. I just don't think that didn't help that he came into the Saints when Drew Brees' arm was going out. So, like, having a wide receiver like that,
right,
with Drew Brees not being able to throw it past 30, it, like, kind of defeats the purpose. I could be wrong with that, but that's watching football. That's what I saw. Yeah, and also, two teams we're not going to talk about, the Falcons and the Panthers.
Not even the Panthers?
I would like to hear what Rob has to say about the Panthers.
I don't know, man.
He said they weren't a bottom feeder.
I don't think they're a bottom feeder. I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be actually pretty sneaky, like competitive in that division. I don't know if, given the choice between the two, I have more. I like the Saints better. I think they have a better, definitely a better roster, a better built roster. But I think Carolina can make some noise. Where they're at 5.5 is their total. There was quite a bit of juice on the over at 165, but I do like them to get the 6 wins. I mean, is that great? No, I'm not saying they're going to be a great team, but I don't think they're going to be a 3-4 win team. I'm thinking more 6, 7, like 8 if they really hit a stride. But like I think it's more of a meddling team than it is a bottom feeder. Obviously with them, Carolina's going to come down to the quarterback play, right? I think what you have in Sam Darnold, and really what you don't have. Mayfield, a little bit more of a question mark. Not that I'm particularly sold on Baker Mayfield or think his ceiling is higher than what was shown in Cleveland. But I think if he could put together some similar to New Orleans, and it's obviously we really get to the actual trend of the NFL, right? If you can get solid quarterback play, right? I think there is enough in Carolina to compete. Especially with some of their options in DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, McCaffrey. If he's back healthy, there's something there for Mayfield to work with, right? So if he could stay steady and again protect the football, I think they could put together a couple wins too.
So I think the Panthers would be a team that you don't want to see early, because Baker Mayfield, say what you want about him, dude does leaves it on the field. That goes without saying. Dude is a gamer. And he was one fumble on the 2-yard line from still being the quarterback in Cleveland and beating the Chiefs and advancing in the playoffs. And then to getting dealt a very so they play the Browns early, the Giants.
Yeah.
Saints.
Yeah.
It's
opens
like
up against the Browns.
I can definitely see them going over because their schedule's it's not easy, but it's not like all you need to do is grab 2 or 3 of those sleeper games, and you're definitely going over. I just think Matt Rule's getting fired like halfway through the season, honestly.
It comes down to the quarterback play. If they're turning the ball over, they're not moving the ball. If Mayfield looks just as bad or the same as Darnold did last year, then yeah, I think Rule's leash is probably the shortest in the league, right? I would imagine. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking it. I would imagine his is probably the shortest or among the shortest. So if there's anybody getting canned middle of the year, I think he's probably up there in terms of the favorites for that. But it just comes down to the quarterback play. Are his guys making plays? If they turn the ball over or losing games, yeah, you're going to get canned.
Yeah, my thing is why are you trading away so many draft picks for quarterbacks that have done nothing in the NFL, that have all been mediocre or worse? I was rooting for the guy, and at this point, it's just like you're buying fool's gold. They're very fragile down there. They play soft football. Robbie Anderson is out of his mind. Guy can run a fly route better than anybody I've ever seen. But he is out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that safety that they drafted, that the Eagles passed on, and that kid's got talent. Yeah, looking at the schedule, Rob, I can't put my money on the Panthers. I just don't know. When McCaffrey gets hurt.
Yeah, I just don't believe in them. I don't really like Robbie Anderson, and I don't, like you were about to say, I don't trust Christian McCaffrey's health.
Yeah, no,
I like DJ Moore, but Matt Rule has just never impressed me. At every level, he was good, and then, he hasn't had anything to really work with, but there's still coaches out there that grit out a couple wins that they're not supposed to, and they've just never done that.
Is he Chip Kelly-ish?
I don't know. Chip Kelly's
I wouldn't want to call anybody that.
Yeah, I mean, that was
He was like gimmicky.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like I think Matt Rule's like a real football coach. It's just like not working there for some reason.
He was
Chip
like
Kelly was like trying to reinvent football.
There was at least a flash in the pan, right, when Kelly came on the scene. Like the Monday night, like the Washington game, like you're like, oh shit, like this is what it looks like in the NFL. And then obviously teams adapted and actually started doing these things, right? And then they kind of, the league evolves. It doesn't become as nuanced anymore. But Rule hasn't been able to come on the scene with anything nuanced or anything new. I mean, he really had a hard time in Carolina since. I mean, having McCaffrey hurt in and out every year doesn't help. Like in any team in the franchise in the NFL, coaches, they're married to the quarterback, right? So until you can get somebody in there that can make plays and stop turning the ball over, your job's in trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't talk about the Bucs like at all.
I mean, I don't have much to say about the Bucs.
That O-line's making me nervous if there's actually some real injuries down there. If you can't protect Tom, that will be his downfall.
I don't think they're like invulnerable. Like I think they're definitely, weaker than they've been in recent years. The team isn't as strong as it was when it won the Super Bowl, or even really from last year. I don't think. And I believe Gage already went down, right? Is he out for the year or for at least a significant portion of the year? Tom's new target, Russell Gage. So.
He's out for the year?
I don't know if it's the whole year. I know he went down. Either it was earlier this week or last week in practice. I have to double check on it. But you mentioned the offensive line, and I know there's health issues there along the offensive line. And I just and I don't know if they can keep it together for another year with that squad. And I'm not sure how much more you can get out of that surrounding cast. In Tampa Bay. I mean, I'm not going to doubt Tom Brady. I'm not going to, what's the point at 47, right? Right, he'll keep doing it. But I don't know if he has enough around him at this point to work that magic. I mean, we'll see his magic, but I don't know if there's enough around him in Tampa Bay to really make a far push. Am I going to say they're going to lose this division? No, because there really isn't anybody else in this division that wows me. I think the Saints offer the best value, maybe, but at the same time, I don't like them going too far this year.
Yeah, I don't have much on the Bucs. I really don't. We have to see the health. The health of that offensive line is going to determine everything because Brady can't move. So if your offensive line is just getting banged up, you have no shot. That's really all that matters to me.
Yeah, and they play a tough schedule too.
For sure.
And some very tough defensive lines. So if they're all banged up, they're going to be in some serious trouble. I mean,
yeah,
I say that with the best quarterback ever, but it's, in my opinion, I do think you're going to start at some point. I'm just going to say it every year until it starts to happen. Like you're going to see it start to unfold. I'm going to start now. I'm just going to start right now. You're going to start to see it unfold. Yeah, I mean, they start out week.
The Cowboys, right? Week 1.
Boys, they play. Hold on. Cowboys, Saints, Packers, Chiefs.
That's tough
first 4
month.
weeks.
Yeah, it's a tough first month of the season.
Falcons, yeah, no, they have a very tough schedule.
How many wins you got? How many wins you give them out of the 4? Cowboys, Saints, Packers, Chiefs? Give them 2?
I actually have an official play on the Bucs under 11.5, minus 125. Forgot to mention that. That's a 12 wins is a lot of wins.
That's a lot of wins against teams. NFC West and AFC North. I mean, like you said, those are some tough teams. Like, talk about defensive lines. I mean, when you talk about the Rams, you talk about the Niners, you have the Steelers, you have the Ravens.
Steelers, yeah.
Tough defenses. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not that might not be all the prettiest football teams in the NFL, but there's definitely some teams that it's going to be a bloodbath for 60 minutes, and you're going to have to pay for every yard. So
the Saints twice on there with that defense. That's a tough matchup. I think that gets to be a tougher matchup. Back to the Saints, if they can get some quarterback play, that becomes a tougher matchup for Tampa Bay this year. They don't sweep them this year.
Their only saving grace is their last 3 weeks are the Cardinals, Panthers, Falcons. So if they're at 9 wins going into that moment, they're going over, without a doubt in my mind. I feel like I'm good on talking the NFC South, and I kind of want to touch on what we all care about, and that's big boy football. That's big boy football. I'm taking the Birds official play. I'm doing it to win the division. Plus 160.
Yep.
Is that what it is now?
Plus 160.
160. Yeah.
Wow.
I at that number, you can't tell me that the Cowboys are a better football team right now. And this is all on paper. We haven't seen it play out on the field yet, but right now you cannot tell me the Dallas Cowboys are a better football team than the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't do it.
Where would you give the edge to the Cowboys other than maybe quarterback, right? Take quarterback out of it for now. Where would you give the edge? I mean, running back? Marginally?
The least important position.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah. I mean, you could swap in whoever, right? Like, hot take, I think Tony Pollard becomes, the premier back by the end of the year.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that you're just right.
I just think they're gonna find themselves getting more out of him than Elliott. Lamb, I think Lamb takes a big step. I think CD Lamb is a beast. I think that was a steal when they got him a couple years ago. I think Jordan Tolbert is actually a pretty good spot pick for like situational pick for fantasy. While Gallup's out and as a second option. So I think like there's some options on offense, but when you compare them to the Birds, like I mean, just going down the list, like I don't think running back's that much better. I think the Birds have better, or if not as good receivers, definitely have a better offensive line.
They definitely have better receivers too. I mean, all they really have is CD, and Michael Gallup is like solid, but when does he come back?
Hold on, we gotta stop beating around the bush. CD Lamb is not going to be a prolific top 10 number one wide receiver.
Agreed, but he's a number one. Though.
I mean,
he's a number one,
yeah.
But he's not a top 10 wide receiver.
Agreed.
He drops the ball too much. Same issue, like Amari Cooper never shows up in the big game.
Mm-hmm.
CD Lamb, I see like CD Lamb is a stud, freak athlete, has the athletic ability to be in the same conversation as Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I don't see him making those same plays as those two dudes, though. And that's a fact. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude's a beast. And I'm not taking anything away from him. I like his game. But when push comes to shove, I've seen him drop big passes that matter. I'm talking like third down, you need 9, and you drop it, hits you right in the hands. You can't do that shit. Not in a division game, not in when it matters when you're playing the big dogs. Like, you can't do that shit. And Trayvon Diggs is the most overrated cornerback in the NFL. And
you're going to see some regression. You'll see some regression on his numbers this year.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, I mean that, and it was like even last year was kind of like hollow, right? Like you had all those interception numbers, but it was really boom or bust. I mean, how many when you compare those interceptions to how many bites that went for touchdowns, like how many does he come out on top of? I don't know. It was a really high risk, high reward kind of play last year. I think there's a regression there. I do think Micah Parsons is the real deal. So I think
that's a fact.
He is a dog, and he is probably the dog on that team, and he's definitely a legit perennial all pro player. So he is solid to anchor that defense, but even with Parsons, like I'm still not seeing it from Cowboys this year, and I don't know what I'll do if there's another game down in Dallas or even in Philly like there was in Dallas last year. I don't know what I'll do. I am not expecting that. I'm not expecting the Eagles to get bullied this year by this Cowboys team. I expect the Eagles to punch back.
I just think the depth in the trenches, the Birds have such an advantage over. And this isn't even Homer stuff because you guys know I'm the first person to be like, they're going to suck. I've called it multiple. I'm like, they're going to be terrible. When I look at their interior offense and defensive line, they are A, really good top half at every position across the board. B, have depth because injuries are going to happen. And all of their replacements, I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable with them 1, 2, 3 weeks. If we can get by.
I don't know how the offensive line has to have this game circled, the first game of the year, because like I have never seen the Eagles offensive line get pushed around like they did in Dallas last year. Like it was abysmal. I'm expecting them to really come out a lot stronger against this team.
Can I say something? I think the Giants, and there is just nothing behind this. There's really no thought behind my eyes. I just think Saquon Barkley's going to have a good year. I think Daniel Jones is just going to give you a decent game manager year. And I think that they're going to take a major step forward. They, to me, had the second best draft in the NFL. And like they kind of went O-line, D-line, everything we talk about. I feel good about them for some reason. Am I worried about the Giants? Absolutely not. But I think that they're going to be a sneaky good team if they can get the right culture behind them. Like, they have talent over there. Now it's just a matter of beefing up in the trenches, which they did in the draft.
I agree, Mike. I said earlier, I think both the Giants and Washington are both going to be a little sneaky. I think they're both going to be, peskier than they have been in the past couple of years.
I don't agree on the Redskins or the Commanders. Is that what they're called now?
I think so. Yeah.
Commanders. Carson Wentz is going to be bad. My boy Taylor Heineke's going to be out there leading men in battle. Come week 5.
Yeah.
Why are you doing my boy wrong like that? That is crazy. He almost beat the GOAT in the wild card game. Didn't play bad last year. Your failures had nothing to do with Taylor Heineke last year. Your defense was a shell of itself last year. That was pathetic. Rob, remember we watched them play the Bills?
Yeah.
Dude, they didn't tackle. They couldn't stop them one drive.
When they were in the game, right? Like they were moving the ball off. It was the they couldn't do anything. And I do
add Jacksonville to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that's your savior.
Yeah.
That dude's preaching too much.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think Wentz is going to. I don't think he's going to be the savior for Washington. I think we know what he is at this point. I don't think he makes them that much better than with Taylor Heineke. Maybe marginally. He still has his issues. The defense, like you said, Mike, that was the big concern last year. I think there's a couple pieces on offense, but I expect him to be a little bit around the same as last year, if not a little bit better. But to your point, I think I would bank on the Giants actually beating out Washington this year. I do think the Giants take a bigger step.
Sean, what's your take on that?
I mean, I could see them both being like competent football teams. The Commanders to a lesser extent because Carson Wentz is going to be Carson Wentz. He's allergic to throwing for 300 yards. He's going to turn it over in the -20, like when you're backed up against the red zone. Like he's going to do dumb shit. He's going to hold the ball too long. So I just feel bad for Scary Terry over there. Yeah. The Giants, I don't know. Like they don't get a pat on the back for like finally doing something right. Like you finally got the number 5 overall pick right. I'm not all of a sudden like Danny Jones has a ton to prove. Saquon has a ton to prove. Their receivers that they pay like $100 million to have a ton to prove, and their defense doesn't scare me at all. Like I have a ton of questions. I don't respect them as an organization. Like
Go off, King. Go off, King. That was great. I'm. You know what? Fuck the Giants. I'm with you. That just everything I felt going into it. I'm with you, Sean.
Thank you.
That kind of fired me up.
It is tough for Scary Terry though. The guy's probably going to retire and never have played with a half decent quarterback.
He's so good.
They're not even giving that guy a chance, and he's like should be easily a top 8, 9, 10 receiver in the league.
He's so good.
I mean, he's a monster. Yeah,
he's solid there.
Yeah, why? I think biggest question mark in that division is why the fuck is that the highest paid wide receiver room in New York? What?
Because they're the Giants. They have no idea.
What are you doing?
Watch. Then they're going to win 5 games this year. Pay Saquon $20 million. Like they just do dumb shit.
There's no way.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think you could say that with the Giants.
He has to run for 1,500 receiving and get you like a handful of touchdowns. There's no way you can pay that dude a lot of money.
Even if he has the best, I'm still not paying him.
Who's getting like? Who's paying the running backs anymore?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they have way too many holes in the trenches to be paying a running back.
I'm looking at the Elliott deal, the Cook deal. It's like McCaffrey. Like, do you really want to keep paying these guys all this money when
they don't stay healthy?
We talked about Dallas. Like, you found this guy Pollard. He came in last year and he's running just as well as Elliott, mixing it up well. Like, like you look at the Eagles and how they've managed the running back situation over the past few years. Like, it really is. I don't want to say the position is undervalued because it is an important position, but the idea that you need a premier running back, I just don't think that's the case anymore. I think the way offenses have developed and the way coaches are using running backs is there's a lot of guys out there that you could slot in, and ideally, what you want is a situation like the Eagles where you have guys that could do multiple things and you can kind of plug and play in different spots. So I think the days of like the workhorse 3-down back, I don't know how many more of those guys are going to get big paydays.
I agree.
Which is with the way that the league's going now. I mean, things can always change, but like, I would put your GM hat on. Like, if you're the New York Giants, and if it seems like they turned the corner and started making some reasonable decisions at the draft, on draft day, with Barkley coming up, like, are you going to commit to a huge deal, like a huge running back deal with this roster? I wouldn't.
I just don't think you can. The guy doesn't stay healthy.
No, yeah.
Even if he runs for 1,200 yards, that's great. But am I going to get that the year after, or are you just going to go back to being hurt?
Yeah, you can't tie real money in that position. You never.
I just don't. Yeah, and it's nothing against Saquon. I mean, when he's on, he's awesome. It's just the position as a whole I don't really respect.
I think it's just like the wear and tear that those dudes get, like starting camp, and then you like.
Yeah. It's the wear and tear on the workhorse, right? On those 3-down backs, like a guy like Elliott, who Dallas ran into the ground, right? And now you've seen what the last year and a half how how that's gone, and even Cook, right, was banged up last year, right, after getting heavy use. Like these guys that the tread on those tires, it don't wear forever.
I don't have any other official plays. The numbers, win totals in that division are kind of wanky. I don't really love any of them. The only one I have is Birds to win the division. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add about the NFC that we didn't touch on?
No, not really. I think it's wide open, boys. Like I think I just don't think it's as top heavy as it is in the AFC. I don't think the Packers are that particularly special, nor do I think Tampa Bay is. So I think this conference is wide open. I mean, excluding the Eagles, I'd say I do like both the Vikings and the Niners as sneaky picks. Excluding the Eagles, but who do you guys roll with in the NFC other than the Eagles?
To go to the Super Bowl, you're saying?
Yeah, like who's your Super Bowl pick for the NFC?
That's tough, man. I think the Niners, but then like you're banking on a quarterback that's never going to.
It's so hard.
Yeah, quarterback.
Honestly, dude, you blindfold me, I'll throw a dart at the board, and like that's my pick. The NFC is literally a crapshoot to me. I have no clue how this one's going to shape out. I'm not even meant the Saints to come out of it. Honestly, that might be my pick. The Saints with that all-around team. I mean, then I'm putting my money on James Winston to win a Super Bowl. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen?
If I had to pick right now, it would be honestly the Bucs. There's no one that I would trust more at this position right now. It wouldn't be like the rookie quarterback who I've never seen play. It wouldn't be Matt Stafford and his elbow. I don't know enough about Jalen Hurts yet. There's just too many questions everywhere. By week 5, week 6, week 7, when we start getting a little more information, I might have a better pick, but it would just have to be Tom right now.
The only other, like I said, the only other team I throw out there is I think the Vikings could be pretty solid. I like them. Again, just like looking for teams that are not named Tampa Bay or Los Angeles, right? But I think it's wide open. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be interesting in the NFC.
Yeah, getting home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the NFC is going to be very important this year.
And I don't see Green Bay running away with that, or Tampa Bay. I don't see either of them running away with that conference.
I'm going to say 13 wins gets you the 1 seed in the NFC.
I would think so.
I think that's what did the Packers have last year?
13 or 14, something like that.
Yeah, it might even be lower. I think there's going to be a lot of teams beating each other, and you're going to go into the playoffs. I mean, like it's anybody's ball game. Kind of like what the Bengals did. It's like,
right.
I mean, you can't count them out. All right, well, I feel good about that. I mean, we covered all the bases. The NFC, we were saying before we got into it, is just like it's a crapshoot across the board. There's so many question marks in every division. Like, to me, there's not a clear favorite anywhere. I'm just taking good numbers where I see them. And yeah, we still have Birds Cast coming up, Fantasy Football Cast coming up. I'm excited for football season. How you guys feel?
I'm ready to go.
Ready to go.
Yeah, can't come soon enough. Yeah.
Cannot come soon enough. All right, everybody. Until next time.